So the three men together, Schleiden, Schwann, and Virchow, were the three that are attributed to coming up with the cell theory. Cumulatively, the cell theory says that all known living things are made up of one or more cells. The cell is the basic unit of life and function, and all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now, we've talked about it, but up until this time, they really did not know that the cells were reproducing. So this was a big deal. And number 1 and 2 of the cell theory actually came about within a couple of years of one another, because we had a botanist that came up with all plants are made of cells, and then we had a zoologist that said all animals are made of cells, and then Virchow was the last who said all cells came from pre-existing cells, but he was about 10 years after the other. So it did take a while for them to realize that one of the things that cells do is they either grow and get big and die, or they're going to grow and they're going to get big and they're going to divide into two new ones. So this was a huge discovery in biology. So that's the three men that were attributed to the cell theory. Okay, cells contain our hereditary information, and this is passed from cell to cell. So when cells divide, our DNA has also divided, and those two new daughter cells, is what they call them, is going to get the same exact information as the parent. Also, the organelles, all of the mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus, all of those organelles, they are also going to have to divide, and they're going to have to enter or be present in daughter cells, because the two daughter cells have got to have the exact information that the parent had. So we'll talk a lot about that. Also, cells are basically the same in chemical composition in organisms of similar species. Now, what this means is that what makes up our cell, what makes up the cell membrane, the organelles that are found in the cytoplasm, all of the organelles themselves, these are going to be very similar from species to species. Of course, they're going to be the same within our species, and the chemical makeup is going to be the same. For instance, the cell membrane is made up of 2 layers of phospholipids. In plants, the cells are made up of 2 layers of phospholipids. So we do have a very similar composition. Third, the activity of an organism depends on the total activity of the independent cells. We are very specialized, which means that our cells have a function. If it is a brain cell or a nerve cell, it is transmitting electrical impulses. If it is a muscle cell, it's contracting. If it is a heart cell, it's beating. If it is a cell that's coming from a gland, it's releasing a hormone. So all of our cells have very specific functions, and they all work together as a unit, but independently they're doing their own thing. If you have a cell that is in your pancreas, for instance, it's releasing adrenaline. Insulin. Adrenal gland would be adrenaline. Each one of them is working independently of one another, but collectively we work together as a unit. So the activity of an organism depends on the total activity of independent cells. If we have cells that aren't working, such as those in our pancreas, then obviously we could have diabetes, and this would totally disrupt some of the other cells, although they're working independently.